IVM.
Hey, it's been a great week on IVM Podcast. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you are. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This week on Keeping It Queer, Naveen talks to prominent author Devdutt Patnaik to explore queerness as depicted in Indian mythology. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus meets the film critic and writer Raja Sen, and the duo quickly descend into a whirlwind of movie references. On LBB, catch a fun event in Delhi happening soon and a contest lined up for you on the LBB I Found Awesome podcast. On Hustle Science, hosts Ranveer and Tejaswin talk to entrepreneur Pranav Marwa from Thinkubate about his journey. Also, if you missed last week, make sure you catch Sahil Qatar on their first episode. That was a great show. On Paisa Vaisa, if you missed last week's episode, we had a fun back-to-school special episode with a bunch of really smart 10-year-olds who asked Anupam questions about inflation, taxes, and more. Try and listen to as many of these shows as you can. And now, on to your show.
Hello, everyone. You are tuning into episode 11 of the Positively Unlimited podcast. And in today's A to Z of Positive Action, we've pulled the alphabet K. K for know. Know when to speak up and when to hold your peace. Today's episode is all about shifting the way you communicate. Positive action is all about taking concrete steps towards change. And that involves becoming aware of who you are, your personality, habits, behavior. It involves accepting every aspect of you as is before any change is made. So before I say anything more, I want you to think about what kind of a communicator are you? Are you loud or soft-spoken? Or are you the silent types? Do you use foul language as if it were a legitimate chapter in the Wren and Martin? Remember that grammar book we used in school? Do you let people complete their sentences? Are you a know-it-all and you haven't realized that's who you are being? Do you have a counter story for every story narrated to you? Think about how you speak and how you listen, and you'll see patterns that, if changed, could change your relationships and experiences. For those tuning in for the first time, all previous episodes of the Positively Unlimited podcast are on the IVM Podcast app, website, and other podcast platforms. In each episode, I've shared a mindset and easy techniques to build it. Don't forget to listen to them. And remember, you can change whatever isn't working for you. You have to decide. You just have to make that choice. Now let's talk about our speaking patterns and let's get a little specific. Observe how you speak and think of a phrase you use very often. Something you repeat often, almost like a reflex reaction. For example, mine is breathe. Anyone who knows me has heard me say this to them and to myself too. Another one I've observed people use is trust me. When you constantly say trust me, as in when your punctuations are replaced with a trust me in a conversation, think about who are you trying to convince, yourself or the other person. Also, this could be stemming from a time when no one believed you, or maybe an equation in which you have had to keep proving yourself, not just your words, but maybe your actions and emotions too. Eliminating trust me could help you breathe easy, because the mind won't go on high alert thinking it needs to prove itself. So identify these reflex phrases and think about where did you learn this, and do you really need to be saying it? Another aspect to be mindful of is your tone. Many times, it's not what is said that damages relationships, it's how it's said. Consciously working on saying harsh things with a neutral tone, if not a compassionate one, can often help resolve a situation. And this brings me to the crux of today's episode. Know when to speak and when to hold your peace. So, rule number 1, you don't have to join every argument you are invited to. What's the fight about? What are you fighting for? Does it concern you? And what's the depth of that involvement? Some of us are walking around with our defenses so high, while some are constantly fighting battles. And then some others are on this fix-the-world mission. But there is a time and place when your voice can and will be most effective. There is also a way of speaking in every situation that makes your voice more effective. So next time you feel this need to jump into an argument about the state of affairs, answer these 2 questions first. How will what I have to say affect and change the situation? And can it really help in this moment? Rule number 2, be heard for your words, not the volume. And if you find yourself speaking loudly or screaming to be heard, ask yourself, where did you learn that you will not be heard? Heal that equation. Speak to that wounded child within you who wasn't heard. Use words in a tone that are aligned to your intention, and the message will be delivered loud and clear. Rule number 3. Watch your tone just as much as you watch your words. If you choose the right words, you will be heard. When you choose the right tone, people will listen to you. So ask yourself this: do you want to be heard or listened to? Rule number 4. Listen to understand before you speak to respond. Allowing people to complete their sentences is important to keep the flow of energy aligned. When we interrupt people because we believe we know the answer or have a better solution or point of view, we disrupt their energy. And this can cause that feeling of being pushed into a corner or feeling trapped. This disrupted energy also sends the mind into a fight or flight mode, which is when you'll hear the other person's volume go up, or you'll see them retract into that shell of silence. Everyone will get their chance to speak. Start a conversation with this intention and let the truth flow. Rule number 5. Befriend silence. If you don't speak, if you aren't constantly heard, you won't disappear. No, it does not make you invisible. Learning to enjoy silence is very important, especially for our generation and these times that we live in. So learn to breathe and understand the rhythm of your being. You can listen to episode 2, B for Be Still, if you want easy tips to befriend silence. Also, it is in silence you learn to listen to the true voices of people. Not what they are saying, but what they are really trying to say. These 5 rules are a good start to changing how you communicate and knowing better than to struggle with your own voice. To speak from an authentic space, to find your true voice, that, my friends, is the aim. In my A to Z deck of Positive Action, there are exercises that help you build the right communication patterns. If you are ready to address the issues of how you express yourself and how you absorb those messages that are coming to and for you, log on to my website, circleofpositivity.com, and order the deck today. It comes with a wonderful self-help journal full of perspectives and exercises to help you build the right mindsets. If you still aren't convinced, listen to the previous episodes of the Positively Unlimited podcast on the IVM podcast app, website, and other podcast platforms. I'm sure a few episodes in, you'll be living life very differently. Sending lots of love to all my listeners. Until next Monday, speak your truth with love and compassion.
As you can see, we have a podcast listener in his natural habitat. Millions of years of evolution have led him to this point. He's on his way to work, and listening to podcasts makes his miserable day better. He will now head to work and use all his knowledge to communicate with other colleagues and possibly future mates. You can find more of his species on ivmpodcasts.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out all the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.